Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
In the present day, we're going to speak of Hamlet, a 1948 filmeth yonder stars, Laurence Olivier, considered one of the most wondrous plays of all timeth. This is... Okay, I'm done with that.
Not bad, eh? Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. And there's more to come. So yeah, like I was saying, a 1948 film, won Best Picture, I believe, that year too. Stars Laurence Olivier, and it's, of course, based on Hamlet, one of the most well-recognized plays by William Shakespeare. So, yeah.
Probably his most famous one other than Romeo and Juliet, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, Romeo and Juliet, I think, immediately comes to mind when you think of Shakespeare. This also comes to mind. A few other plays as well. So, True. Yeah, I mean, yeah, considered one of the greatest playwrights and probably one of the greatest writers in the English language of all time. Laurence Olivier, considered a very esteemed, well-recognized actor for his time. So, yeah, I mean, like, this one, he wrote, he directed it, he produced it, he did quite a lot of things in this thing, didn't he?
He did the soundtrack, he did the lighting, he did the stage, he did costume design, he did everything.
He went around town promoting it. He presented the award to himself.
One-man army right there.
Oh my God, yeah. She's a man to be reckoned with. So yeah, I mean, like, this is one of those things where, you know, at the end of the day, it's Shakespeare, so either you like it or you don't. So it's...
exactly,
yeah. It's performed exactly in the same text and everything, so it's like this old school English that's extremely hard to understand.
Yeah, the fun thing to note is it's actually the first time a non-American movie won Best Picture. In this case, a British film.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think the only ones I can think of since then that I've won, I'm sure I'm missing some, but I know Gandhi won in '82, Slumdog Millionaire, whatever year that was, Danny Boyle,
yeah,
and then The King's Speech won in 2010, and I'm sure there's one or two I'm missing, or maybe more, but I doubt there's that many more.
But it fits in that category, like one of the, I guess, well, Parasite, I guess, counts, right?
True, non-American film. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it fits in that elite club within the elite club of Best Picture winners. Yeah. So basically, could you care to describe what Hamlet's about?
Hamlet, or Emo Hammy, as I call him. Emo Hammy. The story. I mean, look. I mean, the movie is. I'm guessing you're probably going to go into more detail, considering you read it and watched all the films. And bravo.
Yeah. Thank you. I take a bow.
We'll give you a prize at the end of this. A little certificate or a medal or something.
I want to pay it back in the chocolate bar.
Yeah, I mean, the themes and stuff is one thing, but like the story, I was thinking about it, right? It's just like, I mean, it's basically could be summed up like the King of Denmark dies, the Prince of Denmark, Hamlet. You know, he finds out from the spirit of his grandpa that Hamlet's father was actually murdered, and then I guess there hasn't been a recorded murder in Sanford in 20 years. Oh wait, that's the wrong movie. That's Hot Fuzz. There hasn't been a murder.
You got a little bit of that right. You got a little bit of that right. The ghost is not his grandfather; it's his father. But yeah,
it's not his father. He thinks it's his father, right? But it turns out to be his grandfather. I thought
it's the ghost of his father. That's how it's in the play and all adaptations. So it's an apparition supposed to look.
Is
like
it really?
His father.
Okay, so I gathered in this movie, I thought it was his grandfather, and he was like, "My son was murdered." Or...
That's his daddy. No.
It is 100%. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I thought that's what they thought, but when they got closer to him, they realized it's not him. So, which is kind of strange. I was like, "Why is he here?"
Yeah, we'll get a little. We'll get into a little bit of that, but yeah.
But I mean, basically, I mean, you know, I was just joking about the whole. There has been a death, and you know, obviously people die in kingdoms all the time, but this was obviously regicide. Dun dun dun.
Well, this is like tragedy as tragedy can get, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically crazy emo Hamlet seeking revenge because, well, you know, it's a revenge tragedy. Really is what it is. What happens in a tragedy? Obviously, people are going to die. in this case, nearly everybody. Yeah. The king is dead. The prince dies. His mama dies. His uncle dies. His stalker Ophelio dies. Her dad dies. Her brother dies.
Everyone gets a death. You know, it's just like everybody. Yeah, but you know, this is what entertained people back in the day. So I mean, this is during Shakespeare's lifetime. This was actually his fourth most popular play.
Okay.
Yeah, with the other ones being more popular, like King Henry and things of that nature. It's a more political monarchy-based plays were more popular than this one. But this was
Yeah.
still pretty up there, and this is also based on a monarchy as well. It's based on a bunch of other different things, as a matter of fact. So it's
Yeah.
based on Brutus, it's based on a Scandinavian legend, but it's primarily based on this Danish legend as well.
Now that you mentioned that, and I remember we actually had a conversation about this not too long ago about Shakespeare. I think it was before we were going to cover this, and we were talking about a lot of this stuff, there's plagiarism and whatnot, and this is actually an example of, like, from what I gathered, this is more like a cover. Like Shakespeare did a cover of Hamlet because there was actually, oh, that devilish scallywag Shakespeare, apparently it's from some play. I heard that actually has a prince named Hamlet that already existed called Hamlet.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That is a
But,
lot.
and that is based off some mythology, some lore, some old Danish Scandinavian tale or something, right?
Yeah, like the stuff I just mentioned, all that stuff plays into what we call Hamlet now. But yeah, Hamlet was a previous play that happened about 20, 30 years ago, more or less. So that is a lost play. Very little is known from that play other than the fact that there is a guy called Hamlet, and there's a line in there about a ghost or something like that, like, oh, ghost, and things like that. But very little is known about the actual play. So it's actually not even known if it was written by Shakespeare or not. This is kind of lost to time, unfortunately. Like,
you're talking about Hamlet or Hamlet.
Yeah,
Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Yeah, exactly. Like that.
Hamlet, I think, was some other person, right?
Well, it's said to be either by a guy called Thomas Kidd, or it was actually written by a younger Shakespeare. Like, it was kind of like a test run, and then he decided to rewrite it.
Okay.
People don't really know. People are more to the side that it was by a guy called Thomas Kidd, but you know. But what happened, years later is around 1599 to around 1601, that time period. That's when this version of Hamlet came out. And when this version of Hamlet came out, there are actually 3 known versions. So there are these things called quartos and folios. So the first quarto that came out that was published, like after it was done with its run, there was the published text. And a quarto is basically taking a sheet of paper and you fold it in like a couple of halves. I think it's like you fold it twice or 4 times, something like that. Essentially, it's a small compact book. It's affordable, but you can only afford to fit like 1 or 2 things in there. In this case, the full play, right? So the first version of this, the first quarto came out, and it's considered the bad quarto. Why is that? Well, it was compiled by a bunch of different sources, and usually from actors that acted in the play. So they're just going off the lines by memory and things of that nature. So when you read that original text, the famous words, to be or not to be, right? Everyone knows that. Comes from this play. Well, it's funny because in this original version, so the famous line, to be or not to be, this is actually generally how the text is supposed to go. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles. It is.
Boo! I want my money back.
Yeah, boo! Crap.
Boo.
So, but this is how it was actually said in the first quarto. To be or not to be, aye, there's the point. To die, to sleep, is that all? Aye, all. It's really ghetto. So it's pretty bad in this first quarto. So after that, about a year afterwards, the second quarto came out. This was actually from either Shakespeare directly or from his company. I think it was called The Globe, where this first one was going around. They're like, no, we're not going to abide by this. Here's the official version. And it's actually based on the manuscript. And this second quarto, it was written in a way where it's meant to be read rather than to be spoken. So the actual play version may have been a little bit different as a result. But as it may, this is more definitive, the second quarto. And then finally we get to the folios. And a folio is a much bigger text. You can put more stuff in it, so it's more expensive. And in this one, it was part of a compilation. And there you have Hamlet in this compilation. And what's different from the second quarto is that there's some different lines in it, some extra lines and things like that in it. So in all modern adaptations of Hamlet, or most of them, they tend to borrow from the second quarto and the first folio. But there are still some plays to this day that use text from the first quarto, either in full or in part. So as of now, there are 3 different versions, official versions. And when it comes to this film, I think it mostly uses from the second quarto and the first folio. But when it comes to this version of Hamlet, there's a lot that is taken out, obviously, because Hamlet is actually considered Shakespeare's longest play. It's about 4 hours long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy long. So obviously you're not going to make it that long for a theatrical film. That's crazy. So what Olivier did when he wrote is that he took out a bunch of stuff. Like one of the biggest things in the original play is that there's a political strife between Denmark and what's the other country? Norway, I believe. So there's like a political struggle there. Like one's trying to usurp the other kingdom. And in the midst of all that, in this political struggle, you got Hamlet's two little buddies called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So they're taken out entirely in this version of the film.
Right, they're not in this. Yeah, they're significant in the other. They're like, if I recall, like they're like his friends, and then they betray him or something like that.
That's the gist of it. Yeah. So I mean, like they're summoned to spy on him because he goes mad because oh my god, my dead daddy, blah 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 blah. There's a ghost and stuff, and so they spy on him, and then at some point they actually go on a ship, and I think this is made mention in this film too, where. You know, he's supposed to go to England because it's all set in Denmark. But then he comes back and then he basically says like, yeah, they're trying to kill me.
Yeah. His uncle had arranged for him to be killed in England. And then he was end up apprehended by those pirates. And that's how he made his way back with them.
Exactly. But in the struggle, there was a scroll, an official scroll with an official seal stating that Hamlet needed to be executed. So he ended up taking it. He forged the whole thing. But instead of putting his name, he put his buddies, Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, in there. And they end up getting executed.
That's what they get.
Yeah, that's what you get. So, I mean, and the characters they're bit players, but they're famous enough where they ended up getting their own spin-off play that I think happened in the 60s. And that was subsequently made into their own film. I think it was called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Must Die or something like that, starring Tim Roth and Gary Oldman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, you know, it's interesting, but unfortunately they're not in this version. Or fortunately or unfortunately, depends on how you feel. At the time, people were fine with that, but upon, you know, with the other adaptations coming out, especially film adaptations, people looked at this and were like, this is kind of neutered. You know, this is, I want Best Picture and all that stuff, but, you know, it's not as good as we thought it was. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's a black and white film. One of the most visually striking things about this film is the movement of the camera. Like, it's unlike other Best Picture films we've seen so far, this one I feel has the most intricate camera work. Because you go from one part of the stage, it pulls back, it goes forward, it turns to a corridor, it pushes into that corridor, and the corridor somehow... everything is a set in the film, but everything is meshed together with the camera work to make it seem like it's a much bigger set than it really is. You know, it's pretty masterfully done. And I think when Olivier did this film, he was just like, all right, this is Shakespeare. We're asking people to sit down and listen to a bunch of old English and all that stuff. This is going to be kind of a hard sell. So how can we make something that's made for the stage for the film? Well, let's just play around with things and make it more visually vibrant and things of that nature. And hopefully that will keep people's attention. And I think that was a good call.
I completely agree. I mean, that's one of the best things, if not the best thing about the film is it's filmed so well. Like you said, the camera work. I mean, you got these awesome overhead shots, these crane-mounted shots, zoom-ins and stuff like that. Wide angle, deep focus photography. And then there's even like all these effects, like the blurry effects. For example, in Hamlet, before he sees the ghost, there's a blur effect on the screen, and I thought that was pretty cool too. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff they do throughout the film. I'm like, this is pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, speaking of
it was really cool.
Speaking of the ghost too, the ghost is really well done in this film.
Awesome, yeah,
because in addition to reading the original play text, I actually saw two other versions of Hamlet. There's the Kenneth Branagh one that came out in 1996, and there is the 1990 film by Franco Zeffirelli. I'm going to call this one the Mel Gibson version because that's way easier to remember, and most people will remember it as the Mel Gibson version.
Right.
So, in seeing all three different versions of this film, speaking to this scene specifically, this film, the Laurence Olivier version, handled the ghost scene the best because that ghost looks awesome. It looks eerie. It sounds eerie. It's a scary presence. Whereas in the other two films, it's just an actor in makeup. You can tell it's just like they put like white makeup on there, and they're like, "That's a ghost," and you're like, "That's a bare minimum effort," but okay.
Yeah, even in the scenes in this film, not just in the beginning, but when he sees the ghost again in the castle, and and then he's like, "Don't you see him? Don't you see the ghost?" And then like you can see it, but then obviously his mom doesn't see it.
Well, you don't actually see him. He points to the ghost, but it's like an empty hallway or something like that. And then there's a POV
the first
shot.
The first shot has like a silhouette or something. There's something there, and then when they show it again, is from her perspective, and she doesn't see anything.
Okay, yeah, well, from what maybe I'm misremembering, but I do remember there's a POV shot. You don't really see the ghost that much. Whereas in the Branagh version and the Mel Gibson versions, you see him. He's there, And I think in the Branagh version, it's he talks more. Really quickly, too, the Kenneth Branagh version, I think, is the most faithful adaptation of the original work, because that thing is actually 4 hours long.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. This is about 2.5, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and like you said, the play was 4 hours, so it's no doubt they have to cut a whole bunch of stuff out.
Oh, they had to, yeah. But the Branagh version in particular, it's just like, and I saw the film twice. One just to watch it, and the other one to read along with the text. It is almost word for word, like exactly similar to the original play, and the play being the second quarto and the first folio. It's there are a couple of words they changed, of course, and there are like a couple of soliloquies, monologues they switched around, to make it more appropriate for the film version, but it's otherwise word for word, almost, faithful. It's crazy.
Yeah. So then I can see why some people with this film, while they would say the acting, the production, all that is fine, but I think a lot of the people who are fans of his work, Shakespeare's work, would be like, this film, Olivier cut out way too much, and
exactly.
I think it was controversial for that reason, but I totally understand why, and I'm glad I didn't have to watch 4 hours of it. So. 2.5 was more than enough. I understand, you need it, but the film does drag a little bit. It's long. I managed, it's interesting, and it's filmed well, so that at least keeps you in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was very reluctant going into this whole affair, but if anything, though, having watched the film more than once, and read the text more than once, it's the thing with Shakespeare is that it's very poetic, obviously, the way the words are, because again, it's written for the stage. It's written so you can hear the words, but you can kind of tell that William Shakespeare, he was a wordsmith. He was a modern day wordsmith. He was just really good with words, and there are just certain phrases in the original text that are just really, really good. And of such, even to today's society, people still remember certain words because, they're said again and again in cartoons and parodies and things of that nature, like Looney Tunes and whatnot. So some of the most awesome lines in this original text is, one of my favorites is actually, "Since brevity is the soul of wit, I shall be brief." That's when the character Polonius, who's Ophelia's father, Ophelia being the lady who's like, eloping with Hamlet, he says that to the king, and that's when he's reporting to the king like Hamlet's crazy. So, but that line was really good. I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And there are other famous lines as well. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. That's said in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And at the very end, one of the last, I wouldn't say one of the last lines, but so towards the very end of the film, that's where Horatio, Hamlet's friend, when Hamlet dies, he says a bunch of stuff, but among that stuff he says, "Good night, sweet prince," which I've heard before. I'm like, oh, it comes from Hamlet. That's cool. So it's a really beautiful play. It's a beautifully written play, but yeah, as mentioned in the beginning, it's really hard to understand. Like when I read the text, I had to read the translated quote unquote text, a modern day English text. And one of the and another famous line too is, "Alas, poor York, I knew him, Horatio," which most people know that line as, "Alas, poor York, I knew thee well," or something like that. Usually when it comes to Hamlet, people mix up the two scenes together. So there's to be or not to be, that is the question, and he's holding a skull, right? That's what usually people think of. That is actually a combination of two different scenes. One that happens and one that happens in Act 3, where he says the to be or not to be monologue, and then in Act 5, that's when you get to the graveyard scene. That's when Ophelia's dead, his his little lover, and then that's when he's presented a skull, and he's just like told, "This is the court jester," and he's like, "Oh, court jester! Oh, alas, poor York. I knew him, Horatio." And he goes on talking about like how the court jester was cool and stuff when he was a kid. Now he's dead and he's literally a skull. And the reason why that speech and that scene is so resonant today is because it's existential dread. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever going to get over the fact that we just die, right? And that we become no more. And Hamlet is really all about that. It's about death and tragedy and longing and waiting to see what the inevitable end is and what happens thereafter. And the reason primarily why
a lot of introspection for sure.
Exactly.
The mood or whatever.
The reason why is speculated because Shakespeare wrote a bunch of pretty lighthearted plays for the most part. But what happened was his son, and he speculated to be about 11 years old, he died. And shortly after, Shakespeare still wrote upbeat plays here and there, but it wasn't until a few years later he decided to write Hamlet. And it was around the time where I think Shakespeare's father also died. So those things kind of ruminated in his mind, and he just decided, I'm just going to kind of write this little emo play about death and whether or not it's worth living, whether or not it's worth, continuing to live on and whatnot. So a lot of that is speculated.
And then touching with those dynamics and relationships in addition, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why this is so dour and emo and all that wonderful stuff. And it's pretty interesting looking into that too, the process of writing this play, the legends used to make it, what possibly happened during Shakespeare's life that led to this moment. It's just, when you take all that in, when you're reading the text, it's just it gives it a different meaning. Now you're not looking at this thing just a boring ass old school 16th or 1600 style play, 17th century play. It's now oh, this is pretty interesting. I could see where he was coming from with this one. But nonetheless, though, going back to the film, I mean, Olivier does a great job, I think, for the most part. It's a very subdued performance, I feel. It's he does the job. He does the job well. But there's really nothing much more to say other than that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I agree. The acting in general is good. Olivier obviously is a great actor. From what I gathered, in Hamlet, Prince Hamlet is much younger. So Olivier was in his 40s already when doing this movie. So it's a little old for the role, but I mean, he's Laurence Olivier, so they're like, okay,
I can do whatever I want to, good sir.
And I like how they added that he had that line in the beginning of the film where I don't know if it's in the original Shakespeare, but he says the tragedy of a man is it's about the tragedy of a man who could not make up his mind. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely there's part of the theme is that, and so I don't know, it's good. I mean,
Shakespeare.
All in all, there's some stuff about the movie I like. Obviously, there's some stuff I don't like, but it's filmed well, and like we talked about the camera work and all that, and the effects. And
but other than that, there's not much more to say other than that, really.
Yeah, I think it was. I think the film was almost entirely filmed in studio. I think it would have been nice if they filmed some stuff, at certain locations, but not necessary. And at that time, whatever. So I think all of it was in the studio, with the exception of Ophelio's drowning. Right.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, that looked like
that was actually filmed at Olivier's house, and they actually drowned a real extra. For real.
Oh my god, that's devious.
I made that up. Okay, I made that up. Everybody, it's not true.
You had me.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
People did die back in the day for movies. That's why I believed it. And to this day, they still do. But
yeah, true. Sadly.
Yeah, but if anything, though, as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 different versions. So ultimately, when it comes to the 3 different,
wait.
Go ahead.
There is a Russian version too. There's a Russian Hamlet as well.
I was going to say, there's so many different versions of Hamlet. There's so many different adaptations, both in film and play. I have no way in hell I'm going to watch all of them.
The Russian one's supposed to be one of the best as well, I gather. Because if
Was
you look
it?
at every list, you see Kenneth Branagh's, you see this one, and then you see the Russian one is a fan favorite as well, and then of course Mel Gibson's.
Okay, yeah, I didn't.
Um,
I didn't see no Russian one. I ain't gonna see no Russian one, but I'm
yeah,
sure. I'm sure it's good.
apparently it's done very well. Yeah, and very. But I don't know. I'm not watching it either. No interest in.
Okay, well, there
You
you
know,
go.
you know,
There you go, guys. There's a Russian version if you want to check that out. But
I mean, you don't even need to watch any of them. If you want to watch the best version of Hamlet, just watch The Lion King. You know, that's basically it.
yeah, sure.
Or watch the Simpsons. There's a good Simpsons episode. I think it was season 12. I think that has one of the stories is the Odyssey, and then one of it is Joan of Arc, and the other one is Hamlet.
So super short version, I imagine.
Yeah, so you can watch that.
I mean, you could
watch The Simpsons.
Those are options. I mean, Lion King definitely for sure. But of the three that I've seen, the Gibson one, this one, and the Branagh version, all of them are obviously very different. So when it comes,
which is your favorite?
Well, here's the thing. I'll go over each one of them. So when it comes to the 48 version, there's some obvious differences, as I mentioned. They cut out the politics entirely. They cut off Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. There's certain things like some dialogue from the play is cut out and rearranged and things of that nature. And when it comes to the overall performance, it's neither over the top and it's not realistic at the same time. It's at that sweet spot of like, okay, this is a performance, believable enough performance. Now, when it comes to the 1998 version, the Mel Gibson one, when it comes to the period accurateness of the whole thing, the 1948 version, that is more like around the time of Shakespeare, right? 1600s, right? The 1990 version, that is actually closer to what the original play is supposed to be set in. It's supposed to be set in 10th century Denmark, like 10th or 12th century Denmark. So this one is set in 14th to 15th century. I think it's supposed to be Denmark. It's not really explicitly clear. It's somewhere in Europe. The performances in the 1990 version are more grounded, and it's not overly melodramatic. So when you see Gibson and the other ones do their thing, it feels the most realistic. It feels like this is how people actually talk. So as such, you get a little more invested in it. And when it comes to the action and the way it's shot and things of that nature, I feel it's very beautiful. It's also very vibrant, and it's more exciting because, again, it feels more realistic. It feels like if you were there, this would actually play out the way it's supposed to. Then you get into the 1996 version, the Branagh version. As I mentioned, it's the most faithful. It's 4 hours long, crazy long. There's an intermission and a little recap and everything. It's also the most melodramatic out of all of them. A good example is the scene where Hamlet first sees his father, or the ghost of his father, right? So he's like, "Ooh, your uncle killed me." When that plays in this version, the 1948 version, Olivier just simply goes like, "Oh, my prosthetic soul, my uncle." It's very, very quiet. Very dramatic, but very quiet. When Gibson says it, he says, "Oh, my prosthetic soul, my uncle." He says it like more matter of fact, right? And it's just like, okay, got it. How does Branagh do it? Because he plays Hamlet. So this is how he does it. "Oh, my prosthetic soul, mine uncle." And I was like, am I misremembering? And I saw the clip right before we recorded. I'm like, no, that's how he does it. And that's how he does his whole performance as Hamlet. He is loud, he is boisterous, he's over the top, he screams his lines. And at times he whispers, but mostly he screams. And it's just like, you know what? It's cartoonish at times, but at the same time, his performance of Hamlet is really actually the most memorable one because he's so loud. And that's why when it comes to that scene, it stands out because of the way he performs that line and many others. So those are the main differences between those three films. And there are many others, obviously, but those are the main three that I can think of, or the main several that I can think of.
Yeah.
So circling back to your question, which is the best version? Is it this one?
The Lion King.
That's all right. Lion King it is. Case closed, guys. But of the three that I presented, which is the best one? Well, it really depends on where you stand when it comes to Shakespeare. All right. First of all, I ask you this. Do you really give a shit about any of this? And
No.
if your answer is no, I don't really care, then I would probably recommend either the Mel Gibson version or the Olivier version. And of those two, I would side more with the Mel Gibson version because that is the most well-rounded adaptation. It's truncated as well. It's about 2 hours also. It's not, thorough with, it's not thorough in its depiction in the original text, but it is a very good film. It's very well performed, and it's more accessible, and it's more modern. Also, I know this 96 is more recent, but the 1991 is more modern in its depiction. And so I really recommend that one. So overall, now when it comes to like, if you're an aficionado of Shakespeare, you read the text, you saw the play, and you're like, oh, I want to see a film adaptation. Which one do I go for? I'd probably then side with the Branagh version. It is 4 hours long, but it is very complete. Almost every word is accounted for in the original play. And Branagh's performance is, while very over the top, it's very entertaining. And the sets are beautiful. They're extravagant. Most of it is set in the Great Hall location, whereas there's big throne room and there's a second hall. So when you get to the very end of the film, which is this big fight that goes on, they go from the ground floor to the top floor, and then they fall over, and it's over the top. And then after all that stuff, the political strife is still present. So after they're done with that big main fight, that's when you have guards literally coming through the windows, and they're taking over the castle. It's like bombacious, and it's just like, it's crazy and over the top. So now then you come to the Olivier version. Well, when it comes to this one, would I recommend this one? I don't know. It's hard to say, because even stuff like the fights, they're well done. The performance is well done, but the other two versions exist. And because they exist, why would you watch this one? It's not a terrible film. It's hard for me to recommend it ultimately, but it's not bad. It just pales in comparison to what came afterwards.
Yeah.
That is my soliloquy. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, I've only watched this one. I've seen parts of the other films, like the Kenneth Branagh one. I've seen several clips, but I've never sat through and watched the whole 4 hours. But yeah, I mean, this movie is okay. I mean, it's the 48 one. But
yeah, I mean, it's fine. If you want to watch it, I mean, go for it. I'd say everything that I've said, I think I give this one maybe a 6 out of 10. It's good enough. Yeah.
Exactly what I was leaning towards, a 6 out of 10. I think a lot of times we're kind of on the same page. I think I'm giving it a 6, especially because of how it's filmed. Oh
yeah. It's beautifully filmed.
That's what kept me in the film. The acting's fine, whatever, but the lines, are, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's like, get on with it, man. Come on. And
that's actually a funny. In the original text too, there is a line saying like, they speak too much.
Yeah.
Which I think is like
talky.
Yeah, I think that was I think that was Shakespeare basically giving a jab at himself. I think that's my thought. But anyway,
he's talking so much in the movie, and then when Ophelia wants to talk to him, he just shoves her in the ground and stuff. It's rude as hell.
You mean Ophelia, right? Othello is a different character in a different play.
Yeah. Did I say Othello? Oh, I meant to say
you said Othello, and it's like Othello. That's a different play, bro.
Totally different.
You mean Ophelia?
That is Shakespeare as well. So maybe I don't know. I just kind of.
I don't know. Romeo comes in and beats him to death. I don't care.
I don't know. But that was pretty crazy. He just like shoves her violently against the floor and. To the floor, rather. It
was like a concrete floor too, or something. That's crazy.
Exactly, yeah, it's messed up. But it reminded me of a scene in. It's different, but it reminded me of a scene with Sir Smokes a Lot and Half Baked when Dave Chappelle, who's Sir Smoke a Lot, he's like, "Get away from me, bitch!" Pushes her away. Whereas here it's even worse. But
it's actually funny because like after seeing and consuming so much of this Hamlet Shakespeare stuff, I was like, I would love to see a modern day depiction, but it's like in a rundown neighborhood or something.
Didn't they do something like that? I swear they did something like that.
I'm sure it's been done, but if they haven't, I would like to see that. That'd be.
Or maybe it was
funny.
Romeo and Juliet or one of the other Shakespeare films. They did it in like modern, like
Yeah, I'm sure that's been done. Probably, I haven't looked too
It may have
deeply
been
into
Romeo
it.
and Juliet, I think. Yeah,
That was
modern,
100.
like, New
That
York.
was 100% Romeo and Juliet. It came out in '96, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, with Leonardo DiCaprio
Okay.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like think of The Wire, but Hamlet. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, but
Was
yeah.
was that one was modern, eh? That
What was?
Romeo and Juliet 96 one.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, you're right.
that was present day. You know,
Present day, okay.
present day the '90s, the mid '90s, but still.
Right, yes, yeah. I never saw it, so I was like,
Yeah. All right, guys. So that is Hamlet. Stay tuned for
Hammy.
the Hammy. Stay tuned for the next film. We're almost done with the 40s. We're about to get to the 50s now.
oh yeah, there's some good stuff in the 50s. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, but we're not quite there yet. So until then, guys, see ya.
Thank you. Peace out.